it's Slick Ric the Bucher, but Acho, which big three would you rather have, the Nets or the Bucks?
I would easily rather have the Bucks big three. Now, let me clarify this. I would rather have the Bucks three best players. The Bucks do not have a big three, and we're not going to start acting like the Bucks have a big three now to undermine what Giannis has accomplished, to undermine Chris Middleton's growth over the last several years, and all of a sudden to propel Drew Holiday into a figure that he is not when he is one of the greatest overachievers that we have seen as of late. So we're not going to act like the Bucks have a big three and retroactively change the narrative of what they accomplished and how incredible it was. But for the sake of this conversation, I would still rather have the Bucks three best players than the Nets three best players because we have to take everything into consideration. If you all were to tell me in a utopian society, in this perfect world where injuries weren't a thing, where Kyrie wasn't distracted when he was called the N-word by a black player, where Kevin Durant was not always on social media or injured, where James Harden was always in shape, in this utopian society, sure, I'd take the Nets big three. But if y'all telling me 2021 here on planet Earth, where we actually live, where Kyrie Irving does miss time often, where James Harden is not always in shape, and where Kevin Durant can be swayed at times by his emotions, then give me the old, reliable Bucks. I'll give you a full screen, and I will get off of my microphone and my high horse, please. There have been a little over, I believe, 300 or 400 potential games to have been played amongst all of those players the last 2 seasons. The Bucks' three best players, Drew Holiday, Giannis, and Middleton, they play 88% of the time. The Nets' big three, they only play 54% of the time. The last thing I will tell you is this. The Nets' big three played a cumulative, collective, 14 games together this season. The Bucks' three best players played 14 games together in the playoffs en route to winning an NBA championship. Here ends the lesson.
Wow. This is either going to be a sweep or it's not going to be a fair fight. But it's only going to be one or the other because, thank you, Emmy. The truth is, there really isn't a big three in either or with either of these teams. There is not a big three with the Bucks for all the reasons that Emmy noted. And there's not a big three with the Brooklyn Nets either. It's really a 2+1. Okay, let's be realistic about that. And for the Bucks, I would not call them a big three. I would call them a perfect triangle. Because you have your point guard and your playmaker, you have your wing player and your scorer, and you have your post player, forward, rim protector, whatever you want to call Giannis. But you have a perfect balance and complement among those three. There's no redundancy, as opposed to, say, the Nets, who have a post player who's never in the post. They have two guys that are scoring point guards, and they don't have anybody who is a lockdown defender at the other end. Meanwhile, with the Bucks, I have two guys who are all-team first defense, and a third guy who was given the responsibility of covering Kevin Durant in that series because he is also an accomplished defensive player, top 20 at least twice among defensive win shares, has received votes for all defense. So if you're asking me between the two, I could say that the Nets are more talented. There was never a question about the Nets and whether they were talented, but it was a matter of whether they fit. And they haven't proved that yet because they haven't played together yet. Meanwhile, the Bucks was never a question about fit. It was a matter of whether they were good enough. And those rings that they're going to put on their fingers next fall are all the proof you need that they are good enough.
Oh, man. I need to see Acho, too.
I know. Take a deep breath, Marcellus, because you got work to do.
Already.
You got a lot of work work to do if I know where you're going.
You already know where I'm going. I'm going where the rest of the world is going. We're taking the Brooklyn Nets. What the hell is wrong with y'all? This is hot takey. This is why I don't like sports media at times. When I just hear something that is just so absurd, so crazy that it just makes me want to leave the barbershop. Like, dog, he's like, hey, I'm not finished cutting your hair. I'm like, no, I get it done somewhere else. I can't hear this ignorance. And this is pure ignorance. And let me just give it to you simply.
What are you doing in a barbershop these days? I hate to interrupt.
Hey, this is optional. This ain't by nature. This is me choosing to look this cute. All right, here we go. Number one, I want to go to Acho's Utopia because he's telling me, well, if you tell me that we wouldn't have any injury concerns and N-word concerns, I love you, and they were all in shape, and all I would do is counter by saying, well, I'm just going to take the group that is better, not the sorrier one. The sorrier of these three in terms of talent is obviously the Milwaukee Bucks. How do I know that? Because you guys told me that. When you mention the big three in Brooklyn, you say KD, Harden, and Kyrie. You notice that? Either it's initials, acronyms, or just one word. Acho Emmy over there knows what I'm talking about, that superstar status. But when you mention the big three in Milwaukee, guess what you say? Giannis, because he's one of them. And then you say Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. Oh, but that's not even a strong argument. Here's a strong argument. In sickness, health, poverty, and wealth, you got to take the Brooklyn Nets because they were up in a series against your big three, 2-0. And it was only 1 1/3 of them. It wasn't even all 3 of them. It wasn't even all 2 of them. It was 1 1/3. I don't know what 2/3 of Harden left him, but he was there limping along with KD. Now, let's be real about this. I need to see Acho. I need to see the hair that needs the haircut. It's coming. I know it's coming.
Every Wednesday.
Okay, in that barbershop. I know when it's coming. Here we go, guys. We all going to Venice Beach. Hey, Slick, I want you to bring them yellow Chucks you wore in the 8th grade. Remember you were talking about that? Okay, we sitting there. It's all 6 of those dudes walking up, looking fresh. Got their managers with them, their business managers, their agents, their PR team, all 6 of them. They sit down.
I know your guys will.
Damn right, because they superstars. So here we go. We're all sitting there, and it's time to draft. First pick is KD. Let's stop playing. Second pick is Harden. Let's stop playing. Third pick, it gets quiet. Is it going to be Giannis or is it going to be Kyrie? Depends on what you want. But the point is, even if you're drafting and you're drafting with your mindset, ain't no way that 3 of the first 4 players aren't on the Brooklyn Nets. Case dismissed. The big 3 is in Brooklyn.
Here is the problem with Cell's logic, America. Slick, you already know it, so I ain't got to talk to you. I'm talking to them.
Talking talent.
Marcellus Wiley wants to ignore the negative traits and attributes and characteristics that make up an individual and only pay attention to the positives. You move to California, the weather is amazing, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that there are earthquakes.
Oh,
you go to Nigeria, the greenery is beautiful, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that there's immense poverty. Teslas run incredibly well, but you can't ignore the fact that they're only supposed to be built once. You get into an accident, there is a big issue with a Tesla. Right. I'm not going to ignore realities of a situation and only focus on the positives. If I were to only focus on the positives, yes, I would take the Nets. But the problem is, I cannot ignore the earthquakes, the immense poverty, or the fact that they're only meant to be built once. Because the Nets, they miss too much time. So give me the players that are going to be present. Give me the players that are actually going to play. And I'm also not taking James Harden over Giannis, but I won't get distracted by that. I think the viewer can understand that Giannis is a better player.
But would you
than
take
James
3 Nets over the first 4 picks are 3 Nets, correct?
Yes, I would probably
that's
take
the
the
best
first 4 picks as 3 Nets.
That's the best.
But they're not present. You know the race, you know the story of the tortoise and the hare. You just want the guy that's going to get out first. Give me old, reliable, who will be present.
No, 100%. And I hate to go back to something that Acho pointed out at the very beginning, but we're all pretending to be GMs here, right? I mean, that's really the exercise here. Who would we want for our team? And if I'm the GM, do I want the 3 guys who left their last teams under a cloud of controversy and with bad feelings, and one whom I don't know when he's going to ghost me, I just know that at some point he is, or one who can't keep to a diet, or another one who loves Twitter beasts, versus 3 guys who have demonstrated that they are humble, hungry, and no maintenance. And for all the talk about who we're going to take to the courts and who we're going to play pickup with as far as talent is concerned, yeah, first of all, the question of whether you would pick Giannis or Kyrie as the number third is the tell-all, Marcellus, that you are biased to the nth degree.
Biased?
There would never be a debate there.
Most
I will
skilled player
give you
ever,
KD
maybe?
first,
KD?
but after that, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo
Okay.
because of what he accomplished this last year.
What about the next
so
two
that's
picks?
1 to 1.
What about the next two picks? Brooklyn, right?
I could go. I would go Harden, Drew Holiday, or actually, again, it would be a debate because this is what it